All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's crypto space. See, we got some of my other speakers joined already. Everybody want to introduce yourself a bit?
What is up, everybody? I'm Drew, known as the Drews from the Blockchain Basement. Glad to join you guys and excited for this Bitcoin bull market. I've seen some pretty interesting metrics I'm excited to talk about today on just the timing, kind of how close we are following the 4-year cycle and kind of what to expect. So I'm stoked, man.
All right, cool. Thanks, Drew. Thanks for being here. All right, everybody else want to introduce yourselves? So we all know who we're talking to. Hello, hello. Laura, are you there?
Hey everybody, my name is Laura. I'm working at 2bit, so nice to meet all of you.
Hi, Laura. Thank you. All right, well, we have some other speakers that I guess haven't joined yet. Hopefully they'll be on soon. As they join, we can see who they are. So for anybody who's new to 2bit, I guess we should give you a bit of a little introduction. Why would you choose 2bit over anything else? So maybe I can pass that on to Laura. You're the expert here. Can you give a little brief overview of 2bit?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So yeah, my name is Laura. I'm working at 2bit. 2bit is long KYC futures trading exchange. So it's a very great space to trade your cryptos at the moment. While there are a lot of restrictions all around the world. So yeah, happy to work with a team. We are a very international team working all across different places. So yeah, it's a really great career opportunity to work at 2bit.
All right, thanks, Laura. Well, still waiting on some speakers, so let's just dive into it. Maybe I'll get some feedback from Drew here. So our main topic's Bitcoin right now. Drew, let's see. So what emerging trends in the Bitcoin space are you finding most exciting right now as far as the last month or so has gone?
No, absolutely, man. Really like the Bitcoin trends that I've seen is pain and dismay for the smaller wallet holders, right? But what's been going on is these massive hedge fund managers, these massive organizations, we're talking BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, they have remained stacking and adding to their ETFs. And just for context, like, this ETF release for Bitcoin is one of the most, if not the most bullish and fastest trajectory to the upside ETF releases in history of our economy. So what I see is a lot of, people that are trying to hold on to their bags in the midst of a hard economy and their buying power dropping. These massive organizations are buying up all of the Bitcoin under them. And, it's a painful thing to see people selling right now in the market. I understand there's all the macro fears, but I usually, I watch what they do, but I also do what they do and just listen to what they say. And they have been stacking through this entire pain period of Bitcoin falling back down. And we punched down to 49K and the pressure got increased. This also, I saw MicroStrategy's velocity on their purchases have began to try to capture and match the velocity of BlackRock's purchases of Bitcoin on their exchanges. So, well, not on the exchange, but on the balance sheet. But a nuance within that is I do see total whale holdings. This is, just larger whale wallets. They have been slightly on the downside, like they've been slightly curling over, so they're calming down a little bit. So, we got to keep that in mind. I really think that what we just experienced with this trap zone from, up to 60K and then down to 49K was a very, very, very strong accumulation moment for the people that had really good conviction. And now the, people from the outside looking in, they're going to realize we're going to breach 70, 74 again. And that's when the real retail FOMO is going to begin. And it's all kind of timing out with how it does every single cycle with the US election, the institution of quantitative easing, and money is definitely on the money flow for Bitcoin on the larger time frames is also looking very, very healthy as well. So there's a lot
What
of
kind of
factors.
time frames are you looking at there?
Yeah, on the monthly.
Okay.
Yeah, so the monthly and the weekly are looking very normal to previous bull markets. And actually, it does look like the money flow has a much larger upside potential for this bull market. If I'm looking at it from the forest through the trees on the monthly, it looks, the front end of it and where we are right now looks very normal to past bull markets. But something that was kind of a nuanced conversation that I've been having with some of the best traders in the planet. Have been talking about the diminishment of the buying power of the dollar has actually, our true all-time high for Bitcoin was that first pump when we hit 64K last bull market. Since then, the dollar's buying power has really kind of taken a nosedive. So when we're looking at, breaching the all-time high for Bitcoin before the halving this current cycle, it got a lot of people overly excited, but then also the concern that the top was in, right? Was that it? Is that all we got?
Right.
And now it's just a slow ride to hell. But I have to remind people that diminishment of the buying power within the dollar is a hardcore indicator of why Bitcoin breached that, on paper in fiat,
Right.
an all-time high, but really we're ranging exactly where we should be in terms of Bitcoin value. And that's the difference and that's the tough thing is because we're valuing Bitcoin in USD,
Right.
but
Yeah. It
the
kind of skews it.
it does. And this is some of the concern with all of this, marriage with TradFi. Yes, it's going to pump our bags. But I also cover, the sicknesses within the macroeconomic situation. And a big part of what my channel is doing is not only are we finding the best projects out there to get into while the getting's good, but I have a very concise plan on exit strategies for myself that I talk about very publicly. And those are, if I see new information, if I see that, Nvidia's revenue catches up with its speculation on valuation, then I'm not going to be talking about that a year from now. But as it sits right now, Nvidia is a highly speculative tech play that the revenue needs to catch up with the valuation for us to not experience a dot-com bubble type burst in 2026.
All
So
right.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm watching. But as far as Bitcoin in the bull market, like I'm feeling right on track. I'm
All
seeing
right.
as in terms of the halving and the Bitcoin dominance levels, this is the portion that I utilize to assess when altcoin season, because I get asked that constantly.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin dominance, there's something interesting to keep in mind is the second halving of Bitcoin, we saw 231 days to the T of Bitcoin dominance holding on, and then it fell off a cliff. Thus, the altcoin season began. The same
Right.
exact time frame happened in the third halving, 231 days, and then boom, you fall off a cliff. Ethereum starts running, all these other cool altcoins start running, and people, the average person, is able to create generational wealth out of those smaller plays. So where we're sitting right now, we're only 120 125 days after the halving. So I'm not going to try to wait all the way up to 231 days. I think I'm going to have until about the
Right.
middle of November. That's like I don't DCA constantly. I'm a seasonal DCAer, and
All right.
that's my plan, is to basically DCA all the way up into the middle of November. Then what I got's what I got. So the getting is good now, and I'm making that very clear and going after the good projects while I can.
All right. Cool. Yeah. I'll probably be coming back to you for some altcoin questions in a bit, but I did see that Joris joined us. So Joris, can you introduce yourself real quick, and then I want to throw a question at you.
Yeah, hello guys. I'm Joris, working currently at 2bit Exchange, and yeah, feel free to ask me any questions.
All right, for sure. I'm going to ask you one right now. So we were just talking about the current market situation. Since you have a bit more insight on 2-bit, I was wondering what opportunities is 2-bit seeing in the future regarding the current market situation?
Well, from what we can see, actually the trading activity is increasing in the platform, especially during this jump from the 50K to the 60K. We've seen a lot of new joiners in the market. So I think that the current market situation actually gets the market excited, and even new people join. I feel that there is a lot of uncertainty in the market. Some people say that we topped. Some people say it's the beginning of the bear market. Now, for me, it's hard to believe that. I still think that we might go to 100K, but I also remember that we had a similar situation a couple of years ago where everybody was saying for 100K. If you were there, you probably remember that. But coming back to your initial question, I see that more new people joined. We've seen a lot of signups at 2-bit platform itself. And from what I've seen is that people are excited to trade spot, and people are excited to trade derivatives right now.
Okay. How's the increase in spot and derivatives trading looked? Has it been recent or past year? What's the time frame on that?
Well, what I mentioned in the increase is we've seen a big increase in the last couple of months.
Okay.
Well, that what we have seen. Yeah, it's very recent data, and usually when this happens, the market continues, right? So we've seen a very a big decrease in volumes, big decrease in new signups, usually at the end of the bull market. Then we see lower volumes, lower signups. But right now in summer, I feel that people are still bullish. I feel that people still want to trade, and they didn't get enough. And like my personal opinion, it has nothing to do with the company. I think that people didn't make enough money on altcoins, and I want to know what you guys think about it. Now, in the last bull market, it seemed that whenever we buy, we make money. But this time it was much harder. And some altcoins actually, they did a round trip. We went to $1 or more than $1 and came back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point about the altcoins. It did seem easier to pick one at random during the last bull run. So while we're still on 2-bit, this could be for either of you guys, whether it be Joris or Laura. How about 2-bit's product roadmap? Like, are there any new features or services you're working on the horizon? Either Laura or Joris, maybe you have some insight on that.
Laura, can you hear? Laura, would you mind talking about that?
Hi, Laura, are you there?
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so myself actually, I'm working now very hardly on onboarding great traders into exchange. So that's the goal, I think, at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, so this is what is on my roadmap, let's say. And I just wanted to add we talked a lot about the current market conditions. So I see it very simply. We hands just simply keep selling, and all the indicators looks good. So yeah, let's keep stacking, I think.
All right, gotcha.
Well, for as long as 2-bit still has to expand to Latin America, and that's actually the next the next market where we are going. And we were strong in Asia, we are strong in Europe, but we are not yet there in Latin America. So that's what let's say at least the business development team is focusing at 2-bit.
All right, cool. That actually brings me to another question. I'm gonna go a bit out of order and go ahead and bring out one of the user submitted questions, because Henry at Henry the God with 2 Ds asked what barriers to entry still exist for Bitcoin in developing countries and what initiatives could help bridge these gaps. So any of the speakers here, feel free to add some insight on that. Joris, what do you think about that?
Well, it's the lack of on-ramp and onboarding tools in the exchanges. I believe this must be done much faster, and also other exchanges should start supporting onboarding tools like credit card and transfers, immediate bank transfers. If this is solved, then it will be much easier to really onboard people and onboard people's money. Now, in some countries, that takes a lot of time to on-ramp money into an exchange. Well, this is not the case at 2bit. In 2bit, things are much faster. People can use a credit card to onboard money. However, we would like to support more currencies, and especially more fiat currencies from other countries. However, there are some legal barriers that make this process much longer, and we have to comply with them.
Right. From what I've seen, sometimes the developing countries can kind of contribute to more, I guess, real use case adoption, I would say. Because if you're in a place where your financial system's pretty set up, then you kind of have to be adventurous to want to get into Bitcoin, I guess. But in places where the financial system's kind of getting messed up, then it can actually be a real world use case of like really getting into Bitcoin as an alternative. Just a little insight for me. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I mean, you brought up a good point. It's like the systems that are breaking is where people need access to crypto the most. But in those situations, those countries that have their fiat valuation falling off a cliff, they increase their controls, their capital controls, and it's really, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So the more avenues that you can open up for them to get access, the more on-ramps and off-ramps you can create, obviously working within the parameters of what's available within the legal system, that is super important for the average person. The average person's not some government bureaucrat trying to control their currency usage as everyone's watching it fall off a cliff, and that's like the whole design of why Bitcoin was invented during the housing crisis. And it really, part of what spurred it was not only stopping spam emails, but stopping our dollar valuation from being printed into nothing. And it's like America has some issues, but it's really bad across the board, and we saw the sickness within TradFi. We really, really saw that in a glaringly obvious time when the Japanese yen and that carry trade situation absolutely crushed Bitcoin for a hot second. It punched Bitcoin down to 49K, and altcoins got a big beating from it. So now we're rebuilding from that. And it does have this double-edged sword where we see ETFs and all these traditional finance tools being cooked in to crypto, but then we're married to the problems with it down the road as well. So, that's why I love 2bit and organizations that respect, user privacy and, lift up the average person rather than, lifting up who's already on top. So.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Let me throw another question at Laura and Joris. So how does 2bit view the competition in the Bitcoin space? And are there any opportunities for collaboration or partnerships that you guys are looking at?
Yeah. So Laura, if you want to take this.
Yeah, sure. So, there is lots of competition actually, especially in Europe. There are many different exchanges here, right? What is a very good point of 2bit, that 2bit provides a really great space for futures trading and do it in non-KYC way. So that's a really great advantage. But competition is very big. So you always have to look, from the partnership perspective, how you can partner with another, exchange or, some local community. So yeah, we are really working now, hard to engage with local communities all across different countries here in Europe, because, Europe is relatively small, but it's very, very different. And, there are a lot of different, trading communities. So yeah, that's our big focus now, to build, organic engagement here.
All right, gotcha. Thanks, Laura. Joris, were you gonna say anything, or shall I move on?
Well, there is some competition in the space, as you mentioned. Especially, there are some other exchanges trying to do similar things. However, we've seen that, for example, BingX switched to KYC, and before that, Bybit did the same, BitGet did the same, right? So kind of they stop, preserving the privacy of users, and Tubit doesn't want to go that route. For this reason, we are staying a no KYC exchange. And regarding partnerships, we are very happy actually to get new partners on board and work with new companies. So happy to talk with anybody who would like to partner up with Tubit.
All right, cool. Thanks, Joris. Oh, I see David has joined. David, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Hi, David. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then speaking of the regulatory changes that might have been part of the effect of having the KYC on the other places. So I have another relevant user submitted question from Stay, which is at StayMorgan1. How do you foresee global regulatory changes affecting Bitcoin in the near future? And what steps are being taken to address potential regulatory changes? So basically, the regulatory question about Bitcoin, if anybody has some insight on that. Joris or Drew or Laura, what do you think about the regulatory changes and how they might be affecting Bitcoin in the near future?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the regulatory changes. At least here in America, it's basically a fight to the top. And the real winner in this argument between the right and the left here in the United States on who's more bullish for crypto is us, the crypto holders, right? They see that it's got extreme use case across the world. They see other nations, trying to integrate and outpace them on those innovations, and just the open armness for companies to come in and develop within the country, because that's capital flow. They see the opportunity there, and they're racing to the top right now. So like at Bitcoin Nashville, for instance, we had RFK is a third-party candidate. He was talking about buying 4 million Bitcoin and putting it on the U.S. Treasury balance sheet to backstop the U.S. dollar. Now Trump comes in. He's a little bit less, but he does want to have a plan to back the U.S. dollar with Bitcoin to a degree. But we see this double-edged, amazing situation where now RFK is now potentially going to be joining teams with Trump. And RFK knows a lot about Bitcoin and about the use case of it. And after the left saw this movement from the right, then all of a sudden the left and their presidential candidate comes out, I'm pro Bitcoin too, guys. So they're just trying to raise to the top. And, they really understand that Bitcoin holders and the freedom fighters of crypto are loud, and they have monetary weight to throw around, because they haven't been sitting here watching their dollar fizzle in their hands. They've been involved with the space. They've been building in the next generation of what I call the next industrial revolution, which is crypto, Bitcoin, and data being the new gold. They see this happening, and the real winners here are people that were involved with crypto before all of these agencies get their chance to be bullish as well. So honestly, I have basically summed it up as this many times. Bitcoin is this unstoppable force meeting the immovable object of government. And now they're having to figure out a way to coexist. They understand it's not going away, and the governments across the world are learning ways to leverage it to hoist their fiat currency up rather than try to get into a battle with something they truly can't kill.
Right. That actually, that actually brings me to another user question perfectly, which is from Emmerich at Ugo Chuck Wu Yimur 2. You know who you are. I'm not going to spell it out. So anyway, the question is, are we still seeing the after effects caused by the German government selling off all their Bitcoin? Which I guess is a little bit in opposition to what you were just saying, Drew, but maybe you have some insight on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the German law is they have to let go of seized assets within a certain amount of time. So they actually were legally obligated to do so.
All
US,
right.
not so much. You know what I mean? US,
Right.
they seize and hold that stuff. So it is a little nuanced just within the lawfare of Germany. They were required to offload those assets because they had been seized. And maybe they'll change that law in the future because Germany's going to watch Bitcoin absolutely crush this cycle, and they'll probably shift a little bit about that around in their own legal infrastructure. But yeah, that there's no denying that that sell brought us down very, very quickly to 53K. But something that I like seeing is that Bitcoin didn't keep the death spiral going. It basically has just been like over the last, I'm looking at it since, I mean, we had the ETFs the front end of the year, right? It pumped us up to that original moment of hyper euphoria. Everyone was talking about the March 13th moment of 2024. We hit 73,000 bucks. And across the board, altcoins absolutely ripped. And I wanted to mention on the altcoins ripping during this time frame, a lot of people round tripped them. Me in the basement, not so much. We took tons of profits, and I built a building on my property with it. I bought a vehicle because I'm actively involved with crypto to better my life. And when I have a baseline rule. When I see a 3x, I take the profits. When I see a 5x,
Right.
I take even more profits. And then I leave a bag on the table for the moon. Sure, it might be the next Ethereum. You might have just found the next Ethereum or Solana. Leave a moon bag on the side in case it keeps running, but I'm
Right.
not in crypto to just watch the number go up and then all the way down. I've been through multiple cycles, and I have a very concise intention to turn the profits into real estate power, into local power. I got a bunch of gardens. I like producing my own food, and I think that there's a lot of incentive for myself to take that money off the table when it's there, so that I don't have to be holding, like, for instance, ICP. One of the best moves I made this cycle, I absolutely slammed into ICP at $3, and then 16, 17 bucks. I was taking a huge chunk of it off the table.
Right.
Now I got house money playing for me, and it didn't fall back down to $3. It's sitting here playing around 8, $7. That's fine. I feel great
Yeah.
about it. And it's just a lesson for myself. And I'm not trying to give everyone their exact path, but I've been through
Right.
this cycle multiple times, and it can absolutely change your life. But you cannot, like, the narrative of $1 million Bitcoin is coming this cycle, and guess what's not going to happen? You need a $20 trillion market cap for Bitcoin to hit $1
Yeah.
million. So
Real
be
quick
wary of
before
that.
I move too far, I was curious whenever you're talking about selling at 3x and 5x, do you like to buy and then just set a limit order at your those price points just so it happens automatically, or
No, I mean, not necessarily, because I'm watching it every day anyways. You know what I mean? So I kind of track it myself. But if I was in a situation where I'm not on the charts all the time, and it wasn't literally my job for the last few years to be looking at the charts and the news, then yeah,
right?
I mean, those limit orders are very, very powerful to utilize. But me myself, basically I just know where my entry points are off the top of my head, even though I'm holding like 20 or 30 different coins right now. I know each
Right.
one of them. I know why I got into them. I know my original entry, and I know my, and essentially that 3x that initiates like a 40 to 50% exit for me. And then
Right.
that 5x is another 25. And then, I'll leave like 20, 25 on the table just in case it keeps running to the moon.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's one of those early lessons that I'm sure you had as well whenever you first started of not taking profits and
Well, it was kind of interesting last cycle. Like, when March 14th happened in 2020, everyone in the United States was like fever pitch to go buy toilet paper instead of crypto. But Ethereum was like $180, bro. And so, like, I already had, 6 months, a year worth of goods in my house because I've been watching the decay of everything for decades. And so I didn't go to Costco. I didn't have any need to go there and
Yeah.
fight to get that checkout done. I went to Coinbase, and Coinbase was dead. There was no one out there buying crypto at like the worst moment for crypto. Bitcoin, I got my Bitcoin for $4,000 and then a bunch of Ethereum at 180 a unit. And then Chainlink was like $1.90 or something ridiculous. So I did hammer in everything right at that moment. And then, when we did hit $4,500 in Ethereum, for some reason I sold everything, and I turned it into vehicles, and I saw it reset. The one thing that I did hold round trip style was Bitcoin. And then I bought my original XRP. I bought it like 17 cents, and there was this whole narrative that it's going to be the banker's coin and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and there's so much data. It's not really data. It's news articles that come out for XRP that keep people locked into the project. And just watching it over the years and seeing the diminished trajectory of its escape velocity made me sell my entire position of XRP when it was 70 cents. I don't think it's even reclaimed that level since then. But what I did is I took that 70-cent exit on XRP and I moved into, near at like $1.80 or something like that. I moved into all of these other speculative plays, because what I see happening at large is the RWA for real world assets and decentralized GPU projects being the new hot squeeze. I really, really feel strongly about that, because we have this whole release of artificial intelligence systems, but guess what? You need a massive infrastructure of computing power to complement that, to make that actually happen. People don't think about that, but that's why I see Render, I see Aether, I see IO.net on the Solana side. And also, something that makes me so excited about 2Bit is this exchange is one of the few places I can get access to Flux. And I am extremely excited about what I'm seeing from Flux. So that is a main thing that I'm really quite pleased about having access to, because it's like you can know about a good project, but it's already available to everyone and everyone's already in it. How much upside's really left there? You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to find things that are not popular yet, but that just have a rock solid foundation and a good place to build from. So
Yeah. All right. Well, so for me, I'm curious what you think about this. For me, I kind of usually see Bitcoin as, I don't mind round tripping Bitcoin as you said it, because for me that's always like the long-term sort of safe place to put some of what I've made. Then basically most of the alts, there's ones that I believe in more or less, but for me nothing really comes close to Bitcoin. But I know a lot of other people don't necessarily feel that way. So I do want to tie that into this next question that somebody has submitted. Stella Sphere at Manhasara3. How do you see Bitcoin evolving in the face of regulatory changes? We already talked about that. We can skip that part. And the rise of other blockchain technologies like DeFi and NFTs. So for me, I feel like Bitcoin's always still the backbone of sort of the whole thing. But the question is like, is Bitcoin evolving in the face of the other things? Specifically, what they mentioned was DeFi and NFTs, but we could talk about any of the other parts of the crypto space. Drew or Laura or Joris, anybody can chime in.
yeah, I mean, when he pops in, I'll hop off. But I mean, basically, stacks I feel good about. I've felt good about for a long time. It's very speculative and it's a new environment to have a layer two for Bitcoin. But I think that a lot of people faded not only the layer two aspect and the DeFi within Bitcoin, but they also faded ordinals hard. And that proved to be a very incorrect thing to do. And honestly, it's new. When it came out, I was trying to hammer into the Pepe on Bitcoin very early, but actually I got shut off by my credit card company. They wouldn't let me do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, So I just threw my hands up. I still covered them and stuff like that, and I've followed the price explosion on all of them. And shout out, I got a buddy that he also set up a note. He was running, this ordinals type play for a long time. He's in Pizza Ninjas and all those other kind of cool projects, and a lot of people faded him, and it was the exact opposite of correct to do, because those things have shown extreme strength in comparison. If you stack up the velocity of growth on Bitcoin NFTs compared to Ethereum or Solana NFTs, it's not even close right now. So it leaves the question: are ETH and the other NFTs going to have their moment in the sun? Outside of Pudgy Penguins, I haven't seen really anything pop its head out and really demand that respect this cycle.
All right. How about if we are taking the question at like face value of how do you see Bitcoin evolving? So Bitcoin, by its nature, intentionally doesn't change that much. Do you think there's any, just specifically from Bitcoin, do you think there's any way it needs to evolve to sort of keep up with the changes? Or do you
I
think
mean,
yeah,
I don't
go
know.
ahead.
I don't know if it needs to, but I think it's going to.
Okay.
I think that, building out, there's a lot of interest that I was listening to in Bitcoin Nashville about, loans backed by Bitcoin, and about kind of a more sound infrastructure for those options to be available. I think a lot of reasonable takes from the collapse of Celsius have kind of stuck in the minds of major money and bag holders that saw a pretty trusted avenue for that type of option just absolutely get crushed. And I really think that the DeFi side and really the infrastructure, the ecosystem around Bitcoin is going to be built out, because it is the King Kugla crypto, and I think that it's going to be the more trusted option, not just because of its longevity, but because now we have Coinbase custodying a wallet that's in comparison to Satoshi's wallet. We have massive organizations that have fully leaned into crypto. And I want to there is a reason in my mind why BlackRock decided to do this, is because, if everyone remembers 2023, BlackRock was not that excited about crypto. In fact, they looked at it like their enemy. But what happened was in 2024, in March, well, actually, no, it was I think it was March of 23, 16 attorney generals from the United States took aim at BlackRock for investing in industry focuses that were actually counterintuitive to their local GDP and their local production. So BlackRock, all of a sudden, hey, I'm bullish on proof of work. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. They definitely changed their tune the moment that those attorney generals took aim at them for trying to arbitrage their economies. And ever since then, it's been just a big old kiss fest between Bitcoin and BlackRock. So I really think that change happened by force. I think that JP Morgan's been developing their own proprietary blockchain this whole time. It's Onyx blockchain. They wanted to make it insular to themselves, but they kind of got forced into accepting Bitcoin and proof of work as a institutional instrument for these massive funds.
Right. All right. Thank you. That's really good insight on that. Let me go ahead and hit this last user question here. It's from Cybertruck Lover at Baya_Tesla. I guess we know what that guy likes. So the question is, sometimes when I'm trying to convince people to venture into crypto and maybe trade, they cite lack of funds as their barrier. Is there some way someone can start their crypto journey on 2bit with little or no money? I think this would be a good one for Laura to jump into. Laura, do you have some insight on that? Somebody starting their crypto journey on 2bit with limited funds? Hello, Laura, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Yeah, basically you should get starting with trading on 2bit. Take $100, and buy some low caps. And yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be a great strategy.
All right. I'd say also if they're interested in futures trading with little to no money, especially the no money option, is doing a bit of the what do you call it? The trading where you're using fake funds, but it follows the real trades. I know that option is on there, so that's a great way to get started if you want to make sure that you kind of understand the trading strategies and use them yourself. Why am I forgetting the word for that? What do you think, Drew? Do you trade futures or spot generally?
Yeah, I mean, I do both. Really, for context, 99.5% of my bag remains spot. But I do take 0.5%, and I'm actively trading it right now. And really, in the trend that we're in right now, I am not comfortable shorting this market by any degree. So, how I approach it is I look for good signs of weakness and levels where I think that Bitcoin actually has flushed out enough liquidations of longs to find that support and then begin its next leg up. I think we're going to be seeing if you're backed up for us to the trees looking at this thing a year from now, I think you're going to see higher lows being created. So I'm looking for those moments of higher lows to put in those trades. And again, I am not shorting this market by any means, but that mindset, because we are following the 4-year cycle still, that mindset will publicly shift from me to more looking for signs of weakness at the end of 2025. And, with all of the things on the macro that I see, I think that there is going to be a violent move to the downside at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, especially in altcoins. Now, Bitcoin, that's still to be determined. But what I did, just for context, on why I'm a seasonal DCAer, my first bag that I, finally built the capital up and hammered into my life savings on the March 14th crash. I basically built everything up, bought it all up, and then took the profits on the Ethereum at, dang near the top. But I waited till essentially we hit that $17,000 level in December of 2022 with a very basic trend line of the top that Bitcoin experienced in 2017 in December again. And that was my moment in comparison with the cost of mining Bitcoin, which at that time was 19K and Bitcoin was selling for 17K. I looked at that as a screaming deal. So once again, I backed up the truck, refilled everything that I could. And I did DCA along the way until I didn't feel comfortable DCA, and after the ETF was released until now, because I do not buy gigantic green candles. I'm there to experience them, but I am not buying them. So my whole intent is to sell on green candles and make money, and not just be part of a community that's all thinking they're going to the moon immediately. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. You have to be locked in, and it takes a lot of, honestly, a lot of resilience and a lot of stubbornness in your trading plan to be able to.
For the resilience and stubbornness, you kind of got to build it up, right? So, like,
yes.
How about if we're bringing it back to the question of like somebody starting out, especially if they've got little to no funds, what strategies would you recommend for somebody kind of getting their toes wet?
Yeah, I mean, I know that feeling. Like, I'm a very middle class dude. I mean, I have done really really great in the markets, but again, I put it right back into real estate and stuff like that, and I don't keep much cash on hand. And really, in this current realm, what I'm doing is increasing my output into the workforce. You know what I mean? Because I'm mining as much fiat as possible to put into crypto, especially with the weakness in the market right now. So, but then I've heard people that do utilize credit to do so. I am not necessarily in that camp, though. I like to minimize the amount of debt that I have to an extreme low level by any means possible. Because the baseline of why I got into crypto, I'm here in America and I see the average person buried in debt that they will never escape, and likely their children will never escape. And I'm here to change generations of my children. So that is the focus that I take, is not piling a bunch of debt. I'm out here mining fiat currency while its buying power is still at levels that it is right now, even though it's down 99.8% since its inception. It's still being used, and it's still what we get paid for employment in a large degree. So that is, finding new ways to generate that revenue. Like, for instance, the AVAX and ICP profits that I took. We built a alterations and fashion design shop on my property for my wife because that's her industry and that's what she likes to do. And now she's able to increase that income as well. And all of a sudden, we have more buying power, more DCA power because we're turning those gains into money-making opportunities for ourselves. And then we can stack our bags even more while the getting's good.
All right. So for a new person, do you think you'd recommend, as a first step, doing a bit of just easy buy and hold some spot, or immediately start trying to learn?
No. I don't think that jumping into the deep end and trading actively is the move at all for people that are new to this. And if you do have that intention, you're going to have to take a long time and a lot of focus to understand fibs, to understand what money flow means, the 4-year cycle, what Bitcoin dominance means, and even the nuance between Ethereum to Bitcoin valuation or Bitcoin to Cardano valuation, because that stuff matters a lot, especially if you're trading. Now, spot, a lot of people dog it. They're like, oh, there's not enough upside. I'm telling you guys, I've absolutely changed my life, and I have a huge family I'm taking good care of right now from spot movements. Like, again, 99.5% of the bag is all spot, and it has done wonders for me. And I do think that there's an extreme power to spot buying, but you have to have an idea of what number would change your life. What number would actually make a difference in your life over the next 6 months? And then you have that number in your mind. It makes it much easier to pull the trigger and take those profits when it comes.
Sorry, I got muted by accident. Yeah, it's good to have it's good to try to pull out your time frame a little bit longer as well. Be okay with making gains over time and what they add up to. Powell, I see that you've joined and your hand is raised. Please.
Yeah, so what I wanted to add to this, like I completely agree, because like when you will analyze the statistics for the last 2 years, so the volatility on Bitcoin is super big. So being a trader is like doing a trading, like for the newbies in the space, for the new people that are joining the space, it's a big risk because of the volatility they can spot in the market. And very often those people are playing with leverage and they are over leveraged, of course. So checking that and looking onto those variables like risk and volatility, it's much better for the new people in the space in terms of Bitcoin, of course, to buy and hold because of how the market behaves instead of doing the trading. Because like knowing the trading and understanding the trading is a very tough work. Like you need to have a statistics that will follow the results you generate. So it's not like I met like hundreds of different traders, and in most cases, like in the long run, they were losing money. The main issue was they were not able, in most cases, to properly do risk management, because after they won a few trades, they were increasing. They were entering this god mode. They were increasing the risk. They were increasing the leverage. They were trying to make $1 million from 1,000 bucks, and that's the big trap for the new people in the space. So that's why looking onto this statistics and a risk reward ratio when you are trading and when you are holding Bitcoin and checking the statistics for the last 2 years, Bitcoin grew up like 150% or even more over that time. And how many times you would lose or you would make your account equal to zero because of being over leveraged or because of trying to make much more capital. You feel me, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why you got a longer time frame, right?
Yeah, of course, it's when you try to do the longer time frame. Yeah, exactly. In the short time frame, like it's really tough. So the education is the most important thing for the people. If they are joining the space, they want to do trading, they want to be, gods of making transactions and making money on the market. It's not easy because of how hard you need to keep the rules that you will use. Most of the people are, after some for a period of time, they are starting to break the rules that they were setting for themselves. So that's why I would say the first thing before you will start trading is like very proper education, and working with your head, because the head is usually the weakest point of every trader.
Right. Yeah, so speaking of which, if you're looking at the chart for the past month, I guess the past maybe 2 weeks ish, we've seen sort of just a sideways action,
Yep.
which I think for a beginner, it's kind of, they don't want to see that. But once you kind of are into it a little bit more, a lot of people, a lot of traders I know really enjoy sideways action. So I'm curious, maybe Powell and then Drew can give a little bit of your thoughts on sideways action. Is it something you like to see and make use of?
So I like it because I'm a quant trader. So
Mm,
I use a lot of quant. So volatility is something that I love, because I make mainly money on volatility. But I have a
got
friend like CryptoBird. You may know him, the big trader as well. But his strategy is mainly to play longs on Bitcoin. So he's a trend following trader. So like 70% of his trades are in loss, because the sideways market is a very big problem for him, because he enters the
right.
position, he's being kicked out of the position. He's entering the position, being kicked out. But he needs to be in the position all the time, because he
Right.
never knows when the market will skyrocket, and he will make a decent portion of capital. Plus,
Mm,
he will cover all the losses he was having in the sideways market. So like for me, it's the best market we have right now, because I love that market. My quants are making profit. But for most of the people who are playing longs, or who are playing trend following, and they are looking for trend following movement, it's a very bad market, because they are entering, and they are being kicked out all the time, and they need to get those losses. So yeah.
right. All right. Cool. Yeah. How about you, Drew? What do you think of a sideways market?
I mean, they make me. I agree with a lot of what Powell just said. They make me very happy because and obviously we see these massive sell-off candles coming every now and again, but it's just the market flushing out people that are long and that are they're overexposed, they're over leveraged, and then their stop loss is just below where they put in the trade at. But on these sideways movements, essentially what I do is find, like, for instance, Chainlink. Chainlink is one of my biggest bags. And the experience that I had with Chainlink is watching it through the accumulation market of 2023 all the way up till September. I was able to set it up so that I watched the accumulation moment all the way to nearly the last 2 weeks until the breakout. I was insulated till Bitcoin, and just watching the money flow and then watching the overall flow of Bitcoin as a whole helped me time that out. So then I knew that it was a good time to hammer into Chainlink, hammer into ICP. ICP was like $3 at the time. Link was $5, and it did really, really good. Now, we did have a little bit extra fireworks in Bitcoin, but now that we've seen the pullback and this sideways movement in it, this is the time where I actually turn up the heat on my dollar cost averaging. It's not necessarily, I shouldn't call it dollar cost averaging. It's filling up a small section of the truck. It's not a full back up the truck moment, because I leave some capital on the side in case we do get that flush down to around the 50K level, like we saw for just a brief moment on that carry trade with the yen. But at large right now, I'm scared to death to shorten this market, because I see everything lining up for a massive breakout in November. It always times out with the elections in the U.S., and I really think that history is just going to simply repeat itself. Maybe it's a coincidence that it's lined up with that, but I've seen the Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff at the same time over the last two cycles, when I've had altcoins to compare to the rest of the market. And I think that we're on track for the similar type of thing, but with better fireworks to be found.
All right, gotcha. All right, thanks, Powell and Drew. I think we're coming up to an hour here, so maybe I should start closing it out. But yeah, thanks you guys for joining, and thanks for Laura, who's still here. Laura, maybe you want to say one more thing, I guess, for everybody wanting to use or follow 2bit. Obviously, there's this Twitter account, and there's 2bit.com. Laura, do you have any other input for following or staying in contact with 2bit? Hi, Laura, are you there?
Yes, so thank everyone for participating. Let's keep rolling.
All right, cool. All right, so yeah, well, you guys are on the Twitter right now, so keep following the Twitter. Go to 2bit.com if you're trying to keep up with 2bit and everything. And Powell and Drew, thanks again for joining. Is there any last things you want to say before we close out here?
Yeah, man, just lock in. This is the season. Like, you have to do the research, do the due diligence. This is the moment that I've seen it change people's lives in a very, very serious way. And people that fade these moments that we have on the precipice of a nasty bull market, they regret it. They ask you how lucky you got. It's not luck. It's because you locked in, you did the time, you did the research, and, it's a risky endeavor to be involved with this speculative asset class, but I've changed my life once. I'm going to do it again.
All right. Thanks,
Um,
Drew.
I will just say that you need to keep an eye on the risk that you are taking, because in the next few weeks and 2-3 months, we will see a big volatility on the market because of the economical reasons globally, but also because of the US elections that are going to be heavily based on blockchain and crypto, because we have like two different candidates that are going to try to use crypto as a political leverage for each other. So we need to be aware of that, because one day we can have like big upside because of some decisions or some promises, and another day we can see a big downtrend because of the change of some poll that have been made who's gonna win, right? So we need to keep an eye on that and not to take too big risk on yourself, because this market that we will see in the next few weeks might reset your account. So keep an eye on the risk that you're taking.
Yes, for sure. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Thanks again for you guys. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Powell. Hopefully next time we get to talk a bit more. And yeah, see you guys around. Thanks everybody for joining. Don't forget to follow this account if you're not following already, and go to 2bit.com to get started. All right. Bye, guys.